еще одно яркое выступление эксперта мирового уровня. Одна из основных тем третьего форума социальных инноваций – это человеческое счастье. А счастье возможно лишь тогда, когда человек уверенно смотрит в свое будущее. Наш следующий гость посвятил исследованию будущего всю свою жизнь. Я уверен, вы знаете, о ком идет речь. Но все же, я предлагаю вам посмотреть небольшой ролик о нем и встретить его бурными аплодисментами. Внимание на экран!
Митио Каку, футуролог, американский физик-теоретик японского происхождения. Автор мировых бестселлеров «Будущее, разума» и «Будущее, человечества». Сегодня на третьем форуме социальных инноваций регионов в своей лекции «Глобальное будущее 2050» Митио Каку расскажет о потенциале создания сверхразума к 2050 году, о том, как изменятся привычные нам сферы жизни общества, образование, медицина, взаимоотношения внутри нашего общества. Есть ли у человечества шансы научиться управлять временем?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Michio Kaku! Good evening, Mr. Kaku. Welcome to Moscow. How are you? As you know, it's already the second day of the forum. Did you have enough time to get around the forum and maybe have you visited any exhibitions here?
Yes, I was very impressed with the energy, the enthusiasm, the innovative spirit. Everywhere I go, I see excitement here.
So thank you, and I guess this is the best time to give you the floor and to start the most interesting part of your presentation. Дамы и господа, еще раз встречайте аплодисментами мистер Митио Каку.
Well, after such a great introduction, I can't wait to hear this myself. First of all, I'm going to talk to you today about the future. The next 20, 30, the next 50 years into the future. And I've had the privilege of interviewing over 300 of the world's top scientists for the Discovery Channel, BBC television, to give you the most authentic look at the future. And whenever I interview these top scientists, I always ask them the most important question of all. I ask them the key question, and that question is there intelligent life on the earth? Well, sometimes I really doubt it. I was watching television, American TV the other day, and I'm almost convinced there's no intelligent life on this planet. But today, we're going to talk about how your job, your health, your future is going to be tied to technology and science. I'm a physicist. What do physicists do anyway? We are the ones who invent the future. We invented the transistor, which makes possible this conference. We invented the laser, which makes possible the internet. We wrote the World Wide Web. Don't forget, we physicists also invented television. We invented radio, radar, microwaves. In the hospital, we invented the X-ray machine, the MRI scan, and don't forget, we also invented the space program, the GPS satellites, all of them. And today, we're going to talk about how physicists are inventing your futures. But first of all, we have to ask the question, where does wealth and prosperity come from? You know, politicians would say that wealth and prosperity come from taxes. You tax Peter to pay Paul. But that's a zero-sum game. It doesn't create I say wealth, prosperity is created by science and technology. But science and technology comes in waves. We've had 3 waves of innovation in science. The first was when we physicists worked out the laws of heat, thermodynamics. That gave us the steam engine, the Industrial Revolution. It gave us the machine age. Later, we physicists worked out the laws of electricity, the laws of magnetism, and that gave us the electric age. Then, we physicists invented the laser, the transistor, the computer, and that gave us the high-tech age of today. So, here is the question for you. The question for you is, what is the 4th wave? The first wave was the machine age and steam engines and the Industrial Revolution. The second wave was the electric revolution. The third wave was high-tech. What is the 4th wave that's going to touch everybody in this room? I say it is physics at the molecular level. Artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, and biotechnology are going to create wealth for the future. Now, in the industrial age, we had oil, we had coal. That gave us the energy for the industrial era. But what is the oil of the digital age? I say that in the information age, it is data. Oil fueled the industrial world. Data is fueling now the modern day world, the world of the 4th wave of innovation and science. How do we process data? Well, with oil, we have oil refineries. With data, we have analytics. Analytics allows us to crunch the numbers for data. But then you need intelligence, artificial intelligence, human intelligence to apply this data, to use it in usable form. This is where artificial intelligence will process the oil of the future. Data is the oil of the future. And what is driving this is Moore's Law. Why are we here today? We're here today because of this curve. This curve says that computer power doubles every 18 months. Every 18 months, computer power doubles. Today, if you get a birthday card with a chip in it, you open it up, and it sings, "Happy birthday to you." That chip has more computer power than all the Allied forces of 1945. Stalin, Hitler, Eisenhower, Churchill would have killed to get that chip. And what do you do with that chip? You throw it away in the garbage. Now look at the year 1969. In 1969, we went to the moon. But what did we have in 1969? 60K processors. You realize that your cell phone today has more computer power than all of the American and Russian space program of 1969. That's how powerful your cell phone is today. And now look at the future. This is how we predict the future. But we should also say there's a warning. This curve cannot go on forever. It is already slowing down. One day, Silicon Valley could become a rust belt. We'll talk about that in a moment. So we're talking about a revolution now in artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence has at least 3 major types we'll talk about today. First, robotics. Machines that can move, that duplicate human motions. Mechanical devices that look almost human. Second, pattern recognition. Recognizing patterns in huge mountains of data. And then third, learning machines. Machines that actually improve themselves. You see, we made a mistake 50 years ago. 50 years ago, we made a huge mistake. We scientists thought that the brain was a computer, a digital computer. Wrong. The brain has no software. The brain has no programming. The brain has no Windows. The brain has no Pentium chip. The brain has no CPU. The brain has no subroutines. The brain is not a digital computer. Then what is the brain? The brain, we now realize, 50 years later, we now realize that the brain is a pattern-seeking learning machine. It learns after making mistakes. It learns like a baby. This is the bottom-up approach. The top-down approach failed. The top-down approach was thinking that the brain is a computer, writing all the lines of code and software for thought. That's called the top-down approach. Wrong. That's not how nature does it. How does nature create intelligence? Nature starts with animals, and they learn from bottom up. So, in the future, artificial intelligence will be everywhere and nowhere. Today, doctors on the operating room have the internet right there. Your X-ray charts, your MRI scans, right there in the operating room on the internet. In the future, the doctor will talk to the internet. You will have RoboDoc, an artificially intelligent doctor in your lens. Doctors will talk to it, ask it for advice, even as it's operating on your body. And today we know that robots can analyze X-ray charts better than a human being. Robots already can analyze thousands of X-rays, spot cancers, early onset Alzheimer's, better than any human. And that's today. Data analysis, pattern recognition. And this is how we will communicate with this data. All this data will be generated right there in our eyes. Virtual reality today is for children. Children put on these glasses and they see a cartoon. In the future, scientists, educators, doctors will be able to analyze science, engines, machine parts right there on the internet. But there's a problem. The problem is you get seasick wearing these goggles. What you see and what you feel, there's a mismatch. And what happens? You throw up. We need a new internet. This is the internet of the future. The internet of the future will be in your contact lens. You will blink and you will be online. And who are the first people to buy internet contact lenses? The first people to buy internet contact lenses will be college students studying for final examinations. Students will blink and see all the answers to my exam right there in their contact lens. So this is going to change everything when we simply blink. And when you see somebody, you'll see their biography next to their image. You'll know everything about who you're talking to because your contact lens recognizes them and prints out their biography. This is very important. Tonight, let's say you're at a cocktail party and there's some very important people at that cocktail party who can get you a job, but you don't know who they are. In the future, because of your contact lens, you will know exactly who to suck up to at any cocktail party. And let's say you're on a blind date. You're on a blind date. He's single and he's available. But your contact lens says no. He pays child support, he's a loser, and he's unemployed. So this could be very useful. And if someone speaks Chinese to you, your contact lens will translate Chinese into Russian or any language you want. So this is now the universe simply by blinking. And this will affect education. It'll affect different aspects of our life. As we said before, when you can blink and see the periodic chart of elements, if you can blink and see all the rules of arithmetic and algebra, then memorization is not necessary anymore. Learning of the future will rely less and less on memorization. Because when you want something, you'll simply blink and see it. So education in the future will not be about memorization. And what about my job? Will I have a job in the future? I'm a professor. In the future, I will know that my students have infinite knowledge right there in their contact lens. So what do I become? I become a mentor. I do career guidance. I grade homework assignments. I talk to these students. I nurture them. That's what professors will be in the future. Professors in the future will not lecture so much anymore because that you will get by blinking. In the future, professors will give career guidance. They'll become role models, grade homework assignments, mentor young minds. And this is how we will celebrate Christmas. Instead of going to the supermarket and fighting all the other shoppers who want to get toys for Christmas, no. You go to the internet and download the blueprint of the toy and then print it out on your 3D printer. You'll be able to print out machine parts, toys. These shoes here were printed out at a shoe store. You go to a shoe store and you want shoes, you simply ask for it. It measures your feet by laser beams and prints it out for you as you wait for your shoe. Any design right there on the spot. And now with 3D printers, we can also print out metals. This is a wedding ring. In the future, you may want to design your own wedding ring and then print it out. And as we will see in a minute, we will also print out body parts. Heart tissue can be printed out using a 3D printer. In the future, we may be able to grow human organs of the body with a 3D printer, cell by cell. And if you're an artist, there will be a new art form. You'll think and create the art form with a 3D printer. Already, we scientists can take images, pictures out of the brain, put it in a 3D printer, and print it out for you. So this is the future of art. Art, design, architecture. You'll simply think of the image and have it printed out. And I'll show you how we do this at the University of California at Berkeley. I'll show you how we do this. So we'll have a different kind of society. The universe inside your cell phone, the universe inside your contact lenses. Banking, transactions, record keeping will all be done at the flick of a button. This is your cell phone of the future. Today, you have a PC, you have a laptop, you have a tablet, and you have a cell phone. Why? It's all the same thing. They have the same processor, but different size. Why? Because of the screen. In the future, your cell phone, you will scroll out a biggest screen as you want, type on it, fold it up, and put it back in. In fact, we can make yards of this stuff. This is the future of wallpaper. Wallpaper of the future will be intelligent. Let's say today your wallpaper is old, torn, discolored, stained, ugly. That's your wallpaper today. What do? You suffer. That's what you do. In the future, you go to the wall and say, mirror, mirror on the wall. Please change color. Please change design. Please change everything. And let's say it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you feel a pain in your chest. Is it a heart attack? Or maybe it's the pizza you had last night. What are you going to do at 4 o'clock in the morning? In the future, you will go to the wallpaper and say, mirror, mirror on the wall. I want to talk to RoboDoc. Boom! A robot doctor or lawyer or engineer appears in your wallpaper. Speaks perfect Russian, English, whatever language you want. Has infinite knowledge of the internet, gives you sound legal and medical advice. Let's say you're driving your car and you get into a car accident in a small country where you don't speak the language, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning. What are you going to do? It's 4 o'clock in the morning. You can't speak the language. You don't understand the laws of that country. What are you going to do? In the future, you'll get on your wristwatch and talk to robo-lawyer. Robo-lawyer, robo-engineer, robo-doc are intelligent. They speak whatever language you want. They understand the laws, the medicine, the customs in any place where you may want to visit. So the future will be somewhat like science fiction. In science fiction, like in Star Trek, we have something called a holodeck where you can literally enter a new world right on the spot. And this is your car of the future. The car of the future will drive themselves. Not only that, the car of the future will park itself. So what happens is, you get in your car, you go to work, and then you tell the car, park yourself. The car scans the city for all the empty parking spaces, parks itself. Afterward, you get on your wristwatch and say, pick me up, and the car picks you up. So in the future, you don't really need a car. You can simply rent a car. You simply talk to it, and it comes and picks you up. In fact, your car is going to become a robot. I say that the robotics industry will be bigger than the automobile industry of today. Think of the automobile industry. It's huge, right? Repairmen, we have mechanics, we have people who design cars, a huge industry. The robotics industry will be bigger because your car will become a robot. You will talk to your car. You'll argue with your car. You'll have intelligent conversations with your car. Your car will become part of the seamless future. And cars will fly. I was just in Dubai a few months ago, where already they're in negotiations for a fleet of flying cars. Cars that can fly. They're expensive, but yes, they already exist. And the future of transportation is supersonic transports. You know, I was in New York City yesterday. It took me 10 hours to fly from New York to Moscow. In the future, we'll do that in 2 hours. 1 hour to London, 2 hours to Moscow, because we will have supersonic jet planes. Now, once upon a time, we had the Concorde, the British-French supersonic Concorde. It was a failure. It went bankrupt. What happened to the Concorde? The Concorde went faster than sound, but it created a sonic boom. The sonic boom shattered glass, windows. Nobody wanted the Concorde to sail over their house. So it was a failure. But now we have supercomputers. Supercomputers that can create supersonic airflow. We can now create supersonic jets without the sonic boom. Think about that. Going from here to New York just in an hour or two. And even beyond that, we're going to go into outer space. Prices are dropping for space travel. You know the movie The Martian with Matt Damon? That movie, The Martian, cost $100 million to make. Hollywood spent $100 million making that movie, The Martian. Now, the Indian government sent a probe to Mars for $70 million. So a Hollywood movie about going to Mars costs more than actually going to Mars. That's how cheap space travel has become. And who knows? I believe that once we're in outer space, once we begin to look what's out there, we may even bump into another civilization in outer space. We don't know, but there could be intelligent life in the universe. Now, I'm on radio, and many times people call me on the telephone to be on radio. And they say to me, Professor, you're wrong. You're wrong. The aliens are not there. The aliens are here. Flying saucers have landed. So I ask these people, how do you know that aliens have landed with their flying saucers? And they tell me they know because they've been kidnapped They've been abducted. They've been taken into their flying saucers. Well, I have a word of advice. The next time you are kidnapped by a flying saucer, for God's sake, steal something. I don't care what you steal. There's no law against stealing from an extraterrestrial civilization. No law against stealing from an extraterrestrial civilization. And steal anything. An alien pencil, an alien paperweight, anything to prove that you're correct. So I'm building up to something. When we have the internet in our contact lens, when we have the internet in our brain, what does all this mean for our daily life? When we buy things at the supermarket, when we go shopping, I say we're entering something called perfect capitalism. Now, what is capitalism? Capitalism is private ownership where prices are set by supply and demand. That's it. That's called capitalism. But capitalism is imperfect. You don't know what things really cost. You don't know who's cheating you. You don't know what the best bargains are. You don't know what the profit margin is. It's all guesswork. That's where the computer revolution comes in. The computer revolution gives you infinite knowledge of what you're buying. Who's cheating you? How much do things really cost? And capitalism becomes perfect. And what kind of capitalism is it? It is less and less commodity capital and more intellectual capital. England, for example, England derives more revenue from rock and roll than the coal mining industry. Now think about it. When you think of a British coal miner, you think that's the worker, a British coal miner. But rock and roll generates more income than the entire coal industry. This is the future. The future is more perfect. Waste, friction, all the excesses of capitalism gradually being eliminated, becoming more important than commodity capital. So every revolution has winners and losers. Unfortunately, there are losers in this revolution. Listen carefully. The biggest losers are repetitive workers. Workers that do the same thing over and over and over again. They're going to be wiped out. Sorry about that. But you know, today we don't have blacksmiths anymore. Today we don't have wagon makers anymore. But nobody cares. We don't need blacksmiths. We don't need wagon makers. And they became automobile workers anyway. The winners are, I'll get into this in a minute. First of all, people who grasp intellectual capital. Capital of the mind. That is creativity, innovation, planning, strategizing, intellectual capital. Now, how do you become a billionaire? The internet has created more billionaires than any other technology in modern times. How do they do it? How do these people, when they're only 20 years old, become a billionaire? Well, it's no secret. First, you take an industry, any industry. Then you look for points of friction. Where do you have inefficiency? Friction, waste, redundancy, bottlenecks, choke points, and then identify the middlemen. And then what do? You digitize them. Who is the richest man in the world? Jeff Bezos. Why? He followed these rules. He digitized the middlemen in retailing. Uber, Airbnb, they all followed the same path. Digitize the process. So, what are the jobs of the future? The jobs of the future, listen carefully. The jobs of the future are jobs that robots cannot do. So, what cannot robots do? Robots cannot do three things. Listen carefully now, because I'm not talking about your future. There are three things that robots cannot do. First, robots are very bad at semi-skilled labor. Robots cannot pick up garbage. Robots cannot fix a broken toilet. Robots cannot design a garden. Robots cannot wire up your house. Semi-skilled work. Carpentry, plumbing, nope. Robots cannot fix a broken toilet. Robots cannot even pick up garbage. Garbage men will have jobs in the future. Second, human interaction. The good news and the bad news. The good news is society will be cheaper, more efficient, more goods and services, less aggravation, infinite knowledge when you need it. That's the good news. What's the bad news? Well, the bad news is, in the future, we will have lawyers. Sorry about that. We will have lawyers because only a lawyer can talk to a jury. Only a lawyer can talk to a judge. Only a lawyer understands the changing moral standards of a population. We have to have lawyers. Human interactions cannot be done by robots. Professors will become mentors. Lawyers will argue with other lawyers and other judges and juries. Jobs involving human-to-human interactions cannot be done by computers. Third, most important. The third category is the most important category, and that is intellectual capitalists. People who are artistic. People who can write a novel, tell a joke, be on television, discover a scientific law, plan, strategize, products of the mind. Those are going to be the jobs that are the biggest category of the future. Robots cannot do any of these three things. And, as I mentioned, we're headed for some rough times. The Moore's Law, which makes everything possible, is ending. We've had Moore's Law for 50 good years, but now it's slowly coming to a halt. The age of silicon is ending. We have to go to the next generation, which is quantum computers. Computers that compute on atoms, but they're not ready yet. Everyone's working on them. The Russians are working on them, the Americans, Google, Microsoft. Everybody is working on quantum computers, but sorry, they're not ready yet. But let's now talk about the biggest category of all. We talked about digitizing transportation. We talked about digitizing commerce. The big one is digitizing your body. We're talking about the digitization of medicine. Not just the digitization of goods. We're talking about the digitization of your DNA, because DNA is computer tape. So in the future, we will digitize every aspect of medicine, including diagnostics. This is a pill. Inside the pill is a chip with a camera and a magnet You swallow it, you guide it with the magnet, and it takes beautiful pictures of the inside of your body, performs surgery, takes pictures of everything inside your body. This gives new meaning for the expression, Intel inside. In the future, Intel will always be inside. And it is now possible to zap cancer cells one by one. These are called nanoparticles. They're being experimented with even today. They seek out and destroy cancer cells one by one. So let's talk about the future of cancer. It turns out that today, if you are a woman and you feel a lump in your breast and it is cancerous, it's too late. They don't tell you this, but you have about 10 billion cancer cells growing in your breast, and surgery is needed immediately. No ifs, ands, or buts. You are on the operating table with 10 billion cancer cells growing in your breast. In the future, you will go to the toilet. Your toilet will analyze your fluids for cancer genes, cancer cells, cancer proteins, cancer enzymes, and tell you that you have cancer maybe 10 years before a tumor forms. We will catch cancer when it's only maybe 100 cancer cells in a colony, not a tumor. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm telling you is that in the future, the word tumor will disappear from our language. We will no longer say tumor, because when you go to the bathroom, have a blood test, analyze your fluids, you will have a liquid biopsy right there on the spot, maybe 10 years before a tumor forms. We can now detect cancer cells using chips, cancer cells using liquid biopsies, analyzing your blood, analyzing your bodily fluids. The word cancer will no longer be a feared word, because we will detect cancer when there's only maybe 100 cancer cells circulating in your body. And if your body parts begin to wear out, we'll grow another one. This is an ear. It is made out of plastic. You take cells from your ear, you put it in the mold, they grow, your own cells grow, giving you a perfect ear. We can now grow from your own cells now, so there's no rejection mechanism. We can now grow cartilage, noses, ears, skin, bone, blood vessels, complete windpipes can now be grown. Bladders can now be grown from your own cells, so there's no rejection mechanism. The next organ to be grown, we haven't done it yet, we're very close. The next organ to be grown is the liver. So for all you alcoholics in the audience, you can celebrate, because we will grow a new liver for you if you wear out your liver with too much liquor and wine and whiskey. So we're talking about a human body shop. We can grow stem cells for joints, so arthritic people don't have to suffer for arthritis, because we can now grow cartilage. And The next organ that we are now working with is the human brain. We are now undergoing what is called the Connectome Project, mapping the entire human brain. So far, we have mapped the brain of a worm and a fruit fly. A fruit fly brain has 100,000 neurons, and we have mapped every single neuron of a fruit fly, 100,000 of them. Next, we will then monitor the human brain. By looking at blood flow, we can now see thoughts as they are formed inside the living brain. And we now know that certain old wives' tales are true. For example, every parent believes that teenagers suffer from brain damage. It's true. We've analyzed the brains of teenagers, looking at blood flow, and we find that their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. That's why teenagers take so many risks. Another old wives' tale is, when a man talks to a pretty girl, he starts to act stupid. Absolutely true. When you brain scan a man who talks to a pretty girl, blood drains from the prefrontal cortex and they start to act mentally retarded. Absolutely true. So all the legends about the human brain, we can now test using physics. And we can now attach the human body to an exoskeleton, giving them the gift of life once again. We can now take someone who's paralyzed and give them the ability to move. You know, 2 years ago, we had the soccer games in Sao Paulo, Brazil. 1 billion people watched that soccer game. The man who started that soccer game went up to the soccer ball and kicked it. Now what's so strange about that? The man who kicked that football was totally paralyzed. He couldn't move anything. He was trapped inside a body that couldn't move. But at Duke University, they put chips in his brain, connected his brain to an exoskeleton, and he became Iron Man. And so it's possible to create a body. And it's also possible to make games out of it. On the upper right is something that you can buy in Japan. On the upper right, you see a headband. That headband monitors electrical activity in the brain. It has 2 ears on it. At a party, when you wear on these ears, if you talk to someone who's very interesting, the 2 ears light up like this. If you talk to someone who's boring, the 2 ears go like this. So at a party in Japan, you always know ahead of time if you're going to go home alone. And we can now record simple memories. This is amazing. 2 years ago, memories in the hippocampus of the brain. Now we're doing it with monkeys. We're now recording the memories of monkeys and putting it on the internet. This is very recent. The goal is to use this for Alzheimer's patients. Alzheimer's patients will have a brain chip. You push a button and memories come flooding into their brain. So this is something that we think is definitely possible. A brain pacemaker where memories are recorded and then sent into your brain. And this is, of course, somewhat like the Matrix. In the Matrix, reality itself was uploaded into the brain. Now we can't do that. We can only record simple memories in animals. But yes, this is theoretically possible. And we can also begin the process of photographing a dream. One day, you will wake up in the morning, push a button, and see a video of the dream you had the previous night. How do you do it? This is how we do it at the University of California at Berkeley. On the left is the brain analyzed by an MRI machine. The MRI machine calculates blood flow at 30,000 locations in the brain, shown here. That's blood flow in the living brain. You now take these 30,000 dots and put them in a computer. The computer then recognizes patterns in these 30,000 dots and prints out a picture of what you're thinking. Now at the top row, you see an elephant, you see humans at the top row. You see an airplane, you see people. Right below is a picture generated by a computer. A computer that scans 30,000 dots in your brain and then puts out a picture of what you are thinking of. And then when you go to sleep at night, the machine keeps on going and prints out your dream. Now I've seen these pictures, they're very primitive. So we don't yet have a beautiful picture of a dream. But yes, it is not possible that one day we will take a picture of a dream. Also, there are some people who are lucid dreamers. When you dream at night, they know they are dreaming. They are awake. They're conscious, even when they dream. Now, I've had that. Maybe you've had it too. Sometimes you know you are dreaming. We can now prove using MRI that it is correct. Lucid dreaming is possible. You take a lucid dreamer, you put them on an MRI machine. The MRI machine says they are dreaming. The front part of their brain, the middle part of the brain, it looks like they're dreaming. But the prefrontal cortex is lit up. So they are awake when they dream. We can prove it now using MRI scans. So the BrainNet will become the internet in the next 20, 30 years. So again, within the next decade, you may see the internet in your contact lens. Beyond that, the internet will merge with your brain. You will be able to send emotions, feelings, memories on the internet. Teenagers will love it. Teenagers already put a happy face at the end of every sentence. In the future, teenagers will put memories at the end of every sentence. Memories of their dance, memories of their first date, right there. And this will help to break down barriers between people. Why do we have to fight? Why do we have to be angry at each other when we don't understand how other people feel? We will feel what other people feel. And this is the future of television, the future of the movies. You know, a long time ago, the movies had no sound. They were called the silent movies, like with Charlie Chaplin. Then sound came. Nobody wanted to see Charlie Chaplin anymore. Next, emotions are going to come. Who wants to see a movie? A movie is nothing but a two-dimensional picture that moves with sound. How boring. This is going to change the way we view entertainment of the future. And